Welcome, everybody, to another Microsoft Unboxed pod. This is episode 87. I'm your host today, Kareem Anderson, and I'm joined by
David Allen. Hope everybody's doing well out there as we're filming this on a Friday. Hope everybody made it to Friday and you're having a good day.
Yes, we are going into the weekend with actually not a ton of news, but big news. The little news that we do have regarding Microsoft-centric things is about the big Xbox shakeup that happened last Friday, pretty much after we started recording. So we're going to get into that and talk about the shifting heads as executives and what the pivot might mean, and we got a little bit of background on why the shift happened. I had a knee-jerk reaction that I wrote up on Friday. Come Monday, we find out a little bit more about what that move was by Xbox and why I was wrong in my initial writing. Other than that, we also have some information about the Samsung Galaxy Unpacked event. For a lot of people, it seemed relatively boring because it was just a couple of phones and some earbuds, but there's some tech and some software that's going to be perhaps vital going forward. And we'll see how the other mobile producers and manufacturers follow suit. We're also going to get into YouTube expanding its premium Lite offering and Samsung's multi-agent AI that was kind of demoed a little bit during the event. Since then, people have got their hands on with it. It's a hit or miss right now, but it's a big step going forward and perhaps the promise of AI that actually may deliver. With that being said, we like to start every week with the rant. David, what are you upset about in tech this week?
Well, it happened about 13, 14 minutes ago. That's what I'm going with because darn it, it ticked me off. Windows needs to get its act together when it comes to hardware, or maybe some of the hardware and software need to get its act together with Windows. I don't know. But to give you guys a 15-second background, I have a full streaming setup here, Elgato hardware, nice monitor, nice Lenovo PC over here that handles all of my streaming duties.
A little humble brag to start off with. Okay.
Yeah, that handles our content creation and some gaming, and I use this daily. I'm streaming something, I'm meeting something, or creating something. And we use StreamYard, and I'm not blaming StreamYard here because I don't think StreamYard is at fault. We use StreamYard to create our podcast. I can have Teams meetings, I can stream, I can do anything I want to right up before our podcast. Open up StreamYard, Windows will come up, and with the Windows dialog now, your camera and microphone are not detected. You reboot, you're back to StreamYard. Well, what upset me about that today was I forgot. That was my fault. So I get I've got a certain window layout that I like for our pod. I get my window straight. I click the StreamYard link. My co-host friend here sent me, and I click on it, and Windows says, nope, not doing this. You've got to do that reboot first. So whoever's at fault here, if you see this podcast, or if you would fix it, I would be grateful, because I don't think it has anything to do with Windows beta channel releases, because this machine is 100% stock, because it is a streaming machine, it is a gaming machine, it is not on the beta channel, it is not on the dev channel. This is 100% stock Windows 11. So fix it.
I can co-sign that weird meeting situations. Now, I wonder if we were using Teams, would this have happened?
Good question.
Think about it.
We might have to try that.
Well, that's exactly what Microsoft. You're walking right into what they want. No, I agree. I think it's always interesting when it comes to communication and meetings on various platforms. Yes, it happens a lot on Windows, but I feel like it's a software in my office for meetings, left and right, hop on a meeting, hop off a meeting, no problem. But when it's something major, when it's something important, when it's something that happens maybe once a month, that's when the software is like, oh, we needed an update, or we sent you an update, or we need to reconnect for some random reason. StreamYard will do it sometimes too. And it's just, it feels like, again, we put a man on the moon. Let's figure out a routine way to keep our streaming services, meeting services up and running. My rant is a little less focused, especially on the end user, but hopefully you guys will come with me. Last night, we found out that Netflix is stepping away from the deal to buy Warner Brothers, which leaves Oracle and a consortium of, I don't know, Middle East money and Jared Kushner and a bunch of other people to gobble up Warner Brothers. And I want to rant because, one, the idea of Netflix buying Warner Brothers was already problematic. I do want to get on record saying that, I wasn't like, oh, it'll be great for Netflix and it'll be great for Warner Brothers. This would have resulted in, I think, an untold amount of job loss because Netflix's pitch is that it doesn't want to make movies for theaters. Like its whole thing is like you can watch it at home. So we would have seen some weird ways that movies were released, and that would have resulted in shortening windows for people to put things in theaters. And I'm sure they would have, used a ton of AI to cut around corners and, reduce the amount of people in productions. I mean, they're already still currently doing that. So, again, I'm not trying to gloss over that. But I think with the Ellisons and Oracle now owning Warner Brothers, we're in a different type of consolidation and still in a very bad situation. And I kind of wanted to just go over real quick the cursed history of Warner Brothers and why I don't think, even though we're in this position where they're about to buy up another piece of media, again, they're going to be, I think they're going to already own TikTok. They're going to own, what was the other media? CBS or something like that. Like they already own a bunch of media, Paramount. And CBS and a bunch of other things. They are now going to own another property. And this is, the third thing that they're going to be taking hold of in the last 3 years, which is ridiculous. I think, the FTC should step in and be like, hey, Harry, that's enough. Take a break. Anyway, I do think there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, and it's because Warner Brothers is cursed. AOL and Time Warner got together way back in the day. Some of you may have just been children at the time or just a twinkle in your parents' eye, but they were supposed to be the future of digital media. This was supposed to be what we're having now was supposed to happen then. That was back in, what was that, the mid-90s, I want to say, something like that.
Mid-90s, early 2000s at the latest.
And it was a catastrophic merger. It didn't result in anything. It wiped out hundreds of billions of dollars in value. And it became kind of a cautionary tale of like, why you don't put internet and traditional media together at the time. Then, I want to say right before the pandemic, AT&T and Time Warner were supposed to be together.
Yep.
And it was supposed to be, hey, a telecom can now provide you cable and internet and movies and whatnot. And AT&T apparently bailed on that as well. And they lost tens of billions of dollars in doing so. And that was kind of why Zaslav was brought in to begin with, was to come in and clean up that mess as well. Since then, there was the Warner Brothers Discovery merger. When that's when we had this whole weird name change of like HBO Max, because they wanted Discovery to be the driving force, not HBO, and they didn't know what to do with the Warner Brothers assets. And again, that was supposed to be a synergy reboot. And again, it became just a cycle of layoffs and write-offs. This is how we lost the Batgirl movie that disappeared in the ether. It was made, it was produced, and they put it in the vault and said, you're not allowed to watch it because we need it as a write-off, and we'll never be able to see that again. So that was another one. And now we're getting whatever this is going to be, where, you have the guys in charge of Paramount running this thing. What's going to be interesting to see is that their money to buy this is largely tied up into AI. And we've said on this podcast, and we still continue to preach it, and we'll say it until it eventually happens. It could be 20 years down the road, and we'll say, hey, and when it does happen, we'll say, hey, we were right. But AI is a bubble. And if Oracle, who is betting heavily on this, and the reason why they're kind of diversifying into media this way is to stabilize themselves, if it is in fact a bubble, they will be hit with a big loss and with a ton of debt, and they'll have to end up stringing and spinning off all of these properties to be sold in order to procure that debt. So in the moment, we're going to have a consolidation. I do think if this doesn't take off, Oracle will have spent tens of billions of dollars on a media empire that requires cultural instincts, which again, we don't know that they necessarily have, creative leadership, again, we don't know if they necessarily have, and an operational finesse that the company has never really demonstrated. And then they're going to need, in order to pay off these debts, spin off all of these properties. So we may end up getting, 3 years down the road, HBO by itself, Warner Brothers by itself, and what was the news one? I think there was CNN by itself. These will all be in separate companies, and maybe other companies will come pick them up for scraps or whatnot. But it's going to be a rough, bumpy few rides, and I feel like we didn't need any of this. My rant is to say, at the end of the day, we didn't need any of this. It feels like when we did streaming, where it's like, oh, we're going to move away from cable to now make more expensive cable. We're moving away from consolidation. We didn't need to then break stuff up, which was already kind of broken up before. That is my rant.
Well, I missed probably 15, 20 seconds of that. I had an internet glitch or something here, but I caught most of it as to what you said. Now, I think you're right. I questioned back during the pandemic and even a little before, when we were having all of these mergers, like, why were we having them and what was it going to lead to? Because you take something like CNN, that comes to mind. I don't have a particular news outlet that I prefer or that I don't prefer. I will certainly go watch them all. And I like to go read the opinions. And when you scroll,
it looks like my partner's frozen, but on his way out, he did agree with me. And that's all that matters, really, when you have someone agreeing with you. Like I said, that's my rant. Let's get you guys into some news so we can get you out on your weekend. We had a specific order that we were going to do this in, but it looks like we may need to switch it up. Just again, I'm going to buy my partner some time, and we're going to get into. Looks like he's back. Are you back?
Yeah, I've been talking, but I don't know how much of that was picked up. I didn't know I had disconnected.
You did. If you want to wrap it up, I will cede you the floor. It's all you.
No, go ahead. I don't know what the last that people heard.
I think you were getting into the consolidation portion of it. If not, we can jump straight into YouTube.
All I was going to say is the consolidation portion of it is kind of expected at this point, because people are getting, to put a button on it, people are getting nickel and dime to death. And the example I had gone into was CNN as a perfect example. I watch or listen to all news outlets because sometimes I like all opinions. And you go to CNN.com and you scroll past a couple of articles, and it'll pop up there in the bottom. Hey, you have exceeded your free articles. Please give us that $2.99 to continue reading our website. Oh, you click that video you want to see? Oh, we need another $4.99 for you to get streaming, and you can get it all for $6.99. Now, wait a minute. Most streaming TV services, YouTube TV, Hulu Live TV, and any of the other, Fubo, and any of the others that I'm leaving out, most of them defaultly include CNN. So you're wanting me to pay twice?
Yes. And I don't see why there's a problem with this. What's wrong with you? Are you un-American?
Absolutely. If that's not a problem, then
you can go watch a Chinese communist TV somewhere else. Here in America, we pay twice. My other last prediction is that we're going to see some weird programming selections. And by weird, I mean influential. We've already seen it with CBS, what they're doing over there. And I fear for a show that I actually become fond of, which is last week tonight. They are very critical of a lot of things, and I don't see Oracle, the Ellisons being okay with that in the near future. So keep your eye on that. Maybe that'll help you with your paying decision. Maybe you eventually won't pay twice or pay at all for these services because of decisions like that. We're going to move on to actual news that actually affects people, like YouTube expanding its premium Lite offering. What do you got for us on that?
This one feels a little weird to me too. One, I did not know that there was I had heard of it, but I did not know it had gone through and had actually been released because it's not available here, obviously, but YouTube Premium has a second service called YouTube Premium Lite. Guess what? You get less ads in YouTube Premium Lite. You get the lack of, for talking purposes, you get the lack of the ability to download episodes for offline viewing. Well, YouTube says we need to change that because we have listened to our subscribers. We know what they want. So what we have done is give you more of the features that you want in YouTube Premium Lite because you're not willing to pay those extra few bucks for YouTube Premium. I get it. I feel you. I don't want to pay it either. But here's the thing on that, and I'm having to pull my notes back up where my stuff got a little disconnected. So give me just a second. You're getting the downloading back of episodes and you're still keeping the less ads. That's kind of the big thing people wanted. And they wanted the ability to, I don't know how many people actually notice this. I kind of take it for granted. When you're watching a YouTube video and you open up another app on your phone, if you don't pay for YouTube Premium, guess what happens? The video stops playing or you can't listen to it in the background. So that feature has been added to YouTube Premium Lite as well. So if you're watching a video and you send a text, you can slide the video to one side or not slide it at all, but the video will keep playing and you can keep listening to it while you send a text, while you look something up, etc. So then I started thinking about it. Why are we doing this? Because the pricing of YouTube Premium Lite is close to the pricing of YouTube Premium. Now, YouTube Premium does include YouTube Music. That's a big deal for a lot of people, myself included. I use YouTube Premium because I don't want to deal with the ads. That's my big thing. I really don't download episodes. I don't want the ads, and I like YouTube Music for the most part. It works. It's an all-in-one subscription. I'm doing it the Google way. They're getting my money. But when I look at YouTube Premium Lite, the two features you've put back, the ability to download things and the ability to keep your videos and content playing while you multitask. And Google says, these are the two things that we were told people wanted with their user feedback. Before long, you're at the point where you're not differentiating between YouTube Premium and YouTube Premium Lite in any meaningful way. Maybe we get to a point where there's $1.50, $2, and I'm not saying $2 is insignificant. You multiply $2 times 12 months, that's $24. That's at least 2 trips to, Starbucks. I get it. But do we need YouTube Premium Lite at all?
Yeah, I think we do. I think they need to do better messaging. Because from everything you've described, it seems like YouTube Premium Lite is just YouTube Premium without YouTube Music. And for, again, people like us, people who are, I would say I am a Google Play Music, a bandee. Like that's where I was at. That's where I put all my music. I was, occasionally I go to Spotify, but I haven't gone to Spotify in years now. That's part of my own protest. That's where you get your music if you're not using Apple Music. So they need to message saying the difference. You get all of the great features from YouTube Premium without the music portion. Because again, that's big for people. And that makes sense. Hey, if it's a $5 difference, that's where your $5 is missing. You don't get access to music. You don't get access to the podcast. You don't get access to any of that. That makes more sense than to just have all of the most of the features and not explain one of the biggest portions of the music part of missing. So I think they need to message that better, saying all of the great features, all of the stuff you want. If you are using Spotify for your music, this is the best option for you. If you have no interest in our YouTube music offering, this will save you money. If you're using Apple Music, will save you money. We're giving you all the same features. So that's my opinion. I could be wrong though. And if I am wrong, let me know in the comments.
No, you're right. And you bring up a very good point. They could very easily market this as video only and probably very much get the message across and probably get more subscribers, because that's more of a cut and dry. I've got my Apple iTunes. But
when you're paying these consultants all this money, you got to keep paying them so they can figure out a messaging. And once they figure it out, then you won't pay them. So they're going to keep making the messaging opaque. Like, maybe you can say that. Maybe when's our next meeting where you give me thousands of dollars? Oh, next week. All right, we'll talk again next week. We won't solve it this week. We'll circle back. If you're a company saying we'll circle back, that means give us more money. Our next topic is it's another one from you. We got the Galaxy S26 lineup, the big awaited opening salvo for smartphones in 2026.
All right, here we go, folks. And I kind of shortened this up just a little bit because,
to be honest with you, there's not much there.
Well,
get into what is there though.
That's kind of where I'm going with it. There's just not much there this time, and this kind of maybe even this should have been my rant at the beginning of the pod. But in the first event of 2026, we had another edition of Galaxy Unpacked 2026. We've gotten used to this name by now, and we kind of know what comes with these events. So what did we get? We got the Samsung Galaxy Ultra 26 and the rest of the Samsung S26 lineup, the S26 and the S26 Plus. As expected, the lineup continued to receive refinements featuring slimmer builds, lighter frames, and a more unified design. We're not really surprised there. The Ultra came down to 214 grams. So we're down to grams. We're not even at ounces anymore. We're talking grams. Not that grams are not significant. Grams add up to ounces. We've got the new Snapdragon Elite 8 Generation 5. We've got enhanced cameras. We've also got, guess what? More AI features. Your circle to search is better. Your circle to search can grab more than one item if you circle it, and Samsung AI, powered by Gemini, can tell you about more than one item in your circle. You've also got what people are calling the big feature. I'm not sure people are going to like it though once they see it. The Samsung privacy display, which I'm going to copy what someone else said. Apple will copy this in a few years. What is Samsung privacy display? Well, have you ever been on like a subway or a bus or just sitting next to somebody, say a family member, on a long car ride, and you want to text your boyfriend or your
girlfriend you're cheating on?
Yeah, you've got a side relationship over there, and you don't want them to be able to look over and see your screen. Well, you can turn on privacy display, which kind of in the demo looks neat. It dims the screen and then dims the corners of the screen, so to speak, a little bit, where it's a lot harder. Somebody would have to be able to lean over and look directly in your phone to not be able to sideswipe you to get some idea of what you've got going on. So that was kind of the quote-unquote killer feature for the S26 lineup. You're getting Samsung One UI 8.5, better efficiency, better responsiveness, better privacy controls, and better multitasking with productivity tools. Just to get off phones for a minute, you're getting the new Galaxy Buds 4 also with these phones. So you kind of got the pairing there. let's see, when are these coming out? March the 11th is when these are coming out. I've seen the phone starting at $16.99 without any trade-ins or any deals. I've seen it as low as $12.99 with some trade-ins and deals. And, if you go all in and you've got, say, the Samsung S25 and you wanted to go to the 26, I've seen Best Buy run it as low as $3.99 with an S25 Ultra trade-in. Now, I'm just going to throw it out there before I throw it to you. If you've got an S25 and you've got it mostly paid for or paid for completely, keep your paid phone. Enjoy the fact that you don't have the bill, because I'm going to call this what I think it is. I felt this the whole time I wrote it. I slept on it for a day. I still don't feel any better about it. I get it. Money, release cycles, income flow. I understand it. It's kind of like Call of Duty Black Ops coming out every year. I get it. But there's just not enough here, I don't think, for people to let me run out and buy the S26. I don't see it. Even me as a tech enthusiast, if one was to say, hey, David, review this, would I review it? Absolutely. But am I in a hurry for March the 11th to get here so I can run out to my Verizon store or get on bestbuy.com or samsung.com and buy this phone? Absolutely not. I've got my S25 over here and it suits me fine. If I get the software upgrades that make some of it work, which usually happen later, great. I'll enjoy those software upgrades, but there's nothing there in the hardware stack that makes a hill of beans to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to second that. The phone itself, I don't think was mentioned in your description, is a little bit more refined. For those of you who have an S25, the S26 is more rounded. So picture the design like the bigger version of the S25 Plus, I think it is, which has the rounded, more iPhone-like feel in the hand. They did use, I think it's aluminum instead of titanium this time around, so it's slightly lighter, a little bit thinner. These are all just in the hand feels. You don't necessarily need that. They didn't add any new technology to the S Pen, which they could have. They didn't add any magnets on the back, which again, people are buying cases in order to stick your phone onto your car or whatever, as opposed to having it, gripped by those phone holders. They use magnets now. Same for chargers. Go ahead.
And Samsung is the only one that has not adopted. I read something about that this morning where Samsung's taking some hits because they've not adopted those MagSafe magnets that everybody else has.
It's a Q charging that everyone was banging on Apple about 5-6 years ago, and now they've adopted it in Samsung for whatever reason. They're saying, according to their telemetry, that people put cases on their phone, which is true, and most people will buy a case that has it on it. It'd be nice to not have to always have a case on your phone for added features. They said the same thing about kickstands and whatnot. So who knows if they're right or wrong in this decision? I think maybe next year, if they need to sell a feature, that'll be the next thing. As the other hardware thing that they have, again, is the screen itself. Tech is not something that'll come to your new phones. And this is the way that they're doing the pixels. They're using a double layer where the privacy screen fires up certain pixels while the other doesn't. And you can control that via software, which is pretty cool. Before, you'd have to buy these screen protectors or whatever from Amazon, from wherever you buy your local screen protectors from. And it would just blanket everything. It was, it offered that functionality across the entire stack of whatever your phone was, because it was just laid on top. This now you can do per app. So again, if it's just messages or WhatsApp, specific messages in WhatsApp or in Messenger or Teams or whatever, whenever that pops up, whenever you go into that app, then the screen will produce this privacy layer, which is pretty cool. But if that isn't your jam, if you're not the 0.1% who uses privacy protector screens, save your money, wait for the next phone. Because aside from that, the speakers are roughly the same. The camera tech is a little cooler. They did, lift or were inspired by the ability, I think it's in the selfie cam, where you can go from portrait to vertical without losing your footage. It all kind of stays the same. They're doing that, I think, with the main camera now too. So again, if you started filming vertical because you're doing, a conversation or interview, and then you want to zoom out to the wider thing and do it horizontal, you can do that without losing the footage. So that's pretty cool. But again, I don't think it's the biggest selling point of the phone.
I want to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to make one statement and certainly give you a chance to respond to it. Phones don't go any further that matter until Apple does the folding phone. Once Apple does the folding phone, because I was thinking about this in my shower is my thinking time. Just to give you folks some insight. I was actually thinking about that this morning because I had my phone on a podcast while I was in the shower, and I was just listening away, and somebody was talking about the iPhone and, the iPhone market share and how the iPhone market shares, so tremendous. Everybody's got one. The phone market does not change until Apple perfects the folding iPhone.
As an Apple fanboy, I suppose you could say that is probably a valid statement. I think we've hit the limit of what we will do on a phone or on a mobile device without the requisite infrastructure of a desk and other accessories. And this is much larger.
I can agree with that.
Because the Fold is out there, and I think the Fold offers a lot of utility. The Pixel Fold does a lot of utility, and I do believe the Apple Fold will offer a lot of utility. But what is fundamentally different than the iPad mini that you would do on this phone without having a dedicated keyboard, a dedicated mouse, a desk, knowing that this is where I'm going to do work or do whatever it is I need to dig into? I think there are things you can do quickly on a foldable, which makes it, infinitely more usable than just a slab phone, as opposed to, and I've gotten used to trying to do doubles, the double screen on my S25 Edge, and it's a cool feature that Samsung offers where you can do like 1/8 of the screen as the app in the background, and you can quickly, jump in between that and a full size version of the other app. So, if I'm looking at YouTube Music, there's a little bit portion of the screen at the very bottom that's still the other app that I might want to jump back into if I need to copy paste stuff. That is great. That offers a world of opportunity, especially for people who only have a phone. There are a lot of people I didn't realize that don't have laptops, they don't have desks.
I've noticed that too.
They just use their phone, and this would be great for them. And the foldable will offer up even more than that, but there is not going to be a new paradigm like the phone itself, where we start consolidating all of our things into these foldables. We've hit the limit, I think, on what we were willing to, as a people, as a behavior, as computing behavior, do on a foldable. And I think even if Apple maximizes that, think about it. They already have a ton of iPad apps. They're just going to shrink these iPad apps to their foldable phone. And yeah, you could probably do Adobe Photoshop on this foldable, but do you really want to? Just like I don't think a ton of people are doing Photoshop at length on an iPad. They're not doing it, Premiere at length on an iPad. They're not doing, or certainly they may not even trust banking on their iPad. They may say, all right, let me open up the Mac to fully do what I need to have 23 windows of different things open at once. So I think, while people are going to come out and say, oh, it's great, the actual behavior, people who buy phones and do things on phones or do things mobilely, isn't going to change, not drastically.
Without going too far and taking up too much time, I want 30 seconds to dream for a minute. Michael Fryer, I think I'm pronouncing his name right. He did a wonderful YouTube video this week where he had the triple fold Samsung. And he went overseas. I think it was Japan. I think he was there for Samsung's event, or he was there for something for Google or something. I don't remember what it was. But anyway, he wanted to see how far he could push the trifold phone. So he used it as his primary laptop. He bought a Bluetooth keyboard. He bought a Bluetooth mouse. He bought all kinds of stands, and he hooked it up, and he showed that it was possible to do in coffee shops and whatnot. So it made me think, how did all this start? Let's go all the way back. I'm a believer that things draw full circle sometimes. In the late 90s, early 2000s, we had this thing called a Palm Trio. We had all kinds of different versions of it. We had a Windows mobile version even. What was our complaint with that? Your input was via stylus. That was your complaint with that. The touchscreen wasn't there yet. You use that doggone stylus to try to type with, and you'd see people walking around pecking. All right, so we got rid of that. We went to touchscreens. Now we've got input. Now we can do touchscreens. Now we've got touchscreen keyboards, and we're going at it. But to your point, we have reached the threshold, I think, of what people are willing to do with these phones without external devices. So, do we go full circle and see something like the old Blackberries, the old Palm Trios, or something along those lines with the little scroll wheel ball type mouse on the bottom of it in some way to where there's a cursor on your screen and you can navigate your trifold phone and drag, drop, click, etc. alongside your touchscreen? Because I think to your point, if we're going to go trifold, I think these phone makers are going to start trying to figure out how to get those other input devices on the phone. And you're going to see some finagling things tried. I could see something with a ball mouse on the bottom of it where you could scroll a mouse pointer around a trifold screen. I could see that work. Just a thought. I kind of went out there on a limb for a minute, but it wouldn't surprise me to see somebody try that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to belate this any longer, but I honestly, this is being as candid as possible, I think there's going to be a move away from the internet and from perhaps even the phone. And maybe it's just me being optimistic, but I think, again, going back to our very first conversation about the rants, all this consolidation, all this AI, I think people are going to start trusting the internet less and less and wanting to be on it less and less. You get, we are millennials, they're boomers. We doom scroll. I don't think the younger generations want to doom scroll. And if that's all that these services and apps are providing you on the internet, I think you're going to have, hopefully, people spend more time in the real world, and that translates to less usage of a phone. I think that we're going to, and again, I think we've hit peak phone, peak features, peak reasons to be on your phone. And I think we're just now, I think the company starts finding a way to pare back some of these features and make people use their phone less, will be the one that wins. Yeah, we can give you 30,000 features, but if we nail the 5 that you do all the time that allows you to get back into the real world and do other things, that you will be the phone that people choose. Yeah, I can have a Swiss Army knife, but if it can't cut the steak that I want to eat, I'm just going to go for the one steak knife. So that's my take on it, which leads us into our other topic right now, which is Samsung's next big smartphone feature. I think they are trying to get out ahead of this idea of using perhaps your phone less by using it more, if that makes more sense. What Samsung introduced before, and then this is kind of in a press release, and they kind of hinted at it during the event, was that Bixby and Perplexity, or Samsung and Perplexity, I guess, Gemini to a certain extent, will be paired up together to offer a multi-agent AI. I wrote about this, covering it, but what ends up happening with this is that this AI agent will use the inbox apps to kind of string together functions on your phone and do things for you. If you guys want to have this quick, view of how this works in the real world, I suggest going to Mr. Mobile. He was able to use the phone for a couple of days, and he tried this out by basically ordering an Uber to kind of take him to a restaurant that he and his friends are going to be at, where they need to book a table and reserve time to eat there. And so the idea is that, again, you tell Google Gemini, Perplexity, or Bixby, like, hey, there's going to be me and David. We want to go grab some drinks at this one place and then move over to another place to have dinner and talk about the podcast. That's the plan. I tell the phone that. The phone then goes out and looks around the neighborhood and, say we're in New York, because this probably work better in cities than in rural areas. It says here, found out some places that you've been to have drinks before, especially with David, because I went through your email, I went through your messages, I went through a bunch of other stuff, and you guys have been to, Draft's Beer House 4 times before. I booked or found the hours for that. We don't necessarily need a booking, but it looks like the wait times for drinking there are around happy hour time. Is that what you guys want? Probably click yes. And then it will go on to say, all right, and then I also booked your Uber from there because we don't want you drinking and driving to your next restaurant. You guys have eaten both here several times before, and it looks like you guys have eaten around 6-7-ish o'clock. So I booked a table for you guys, and the Uber will get you there at this time. So I'm going to put in a reservation for that. So all you have to do is basically say, I want to have drinks and dinner with David to talk about the podcast. That is the goal of AI, is to do something like that. And I think that is what this multi-galaxy agent is supposed to do. The system uses multiple specialized agents to coordinate tasks across the app settings and services, enabling, multi-step execution, cross-app workflows. Now, what I was writing about was that, and again, I'm a Microsoft guy, so this is from my Microsoft perspective. This was the early kernels of Windows Phone, where it wanted to take information from several different apps, put it into a layer for you, extract it, and put it into, and this is what they called hubs. So they had a social hub, they had a messaging hub, they had an apps hub, so gaming hub. Basically, if you use messaging like WhatsApp, Facebook, Messenger, Teams, Skype, whatever, the messages themselves would just all be extracted and put into this layer that showed you, here are your messages from everybody. And you could respond, and what it would do is it kick it back into the app itself. So again, if I talked to David on Facebook Messenger, but I talked to my mom on WhatsApp, and I talked to my wife on Snapchat, I can respond in the one hub, and it would send it back out to the app so that it looked like I was communicating to all of them separately on these apps. That was the dream. Obviously, the app developers said no, because unless you can see the big blue box of Facebook, I lose out on advertising. That is how I make my money. When you take my information and my data and put it into your operating system, I lose money on the advertising, because nobody wants to advertise on my app, because no one's seeing my app. No one's visiting Facebook. No one's visiting Snapchat. No one's visiting TikTok or any of these things. They're all just using your operating system layer. So again, this is early stages, but this multi-agent will use the Unboxed apps for right now. Ideally, in the future, they will have access and support APIs to pull information from other ones. So like Grubhub, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Amazon, all of these, FedEx, all of these apps that you use on a daily basis, hopefully they will allow this multi-agent to tap into them so that it could start pulling more stuff in. Again, if it's, you need to send out a package on Thursday, it will give you an update from your email, then obviously create a shipping label and a bunch of other things from the FedEx app. So all you really need to do is just show up that day on Thursday with your package at FedEx, and they scan the barcode and they take the package from you. Nothing else needs to be done. That's the dream. What are your thoughts on this?
It's kind of like my thought with phones. We'll kind of hit that full circle moment. I remember I was a Windows Phone adopter. Yes, sir, I was. I don't remember the one that I had, but it was the one that Sprint carried with the slide-out keyboard on the bottom. I do remember that. Because I was a Sprint customer when that phone came out. And I really thought I was getting something.
Kids are going to be like, what's a Sprint? What's a Sprint, Dad?
Well, yeah, Sprint is gone. I don't even know what Sprint turned into now, but no, it was T-Mobile got Sprint.
Correct.
T-Mobile got Sprint. But anyway, one of the main reasons I bought that phone, that's why I made the comment while you were talking, was the People Hub. I had a lot of people in my phone at the time, and I had this dream of being able to go to the People Hub and see it all. Facebook Messenger was hot back then. We had WeChat or whatever it was. There was one called Kick. There was 2 or 3 others, and my family and friends used a lot of them. So I really, that was one of my main purchases. I wanted to be able to go to that People Hub and talk to everybody without having to open, close 5, 6 apps and keep track of notifications, because we didn't have these more unified choices then. I want to see this one work. I want to see this go well and I want to see OpenAI do this. I want to see Google Gemini do this. I want to see Copilot do this, to where you can, with permission, I want to make that perfectly clear, with permission, these AI services, these AI agents can begin to pull my chats, can pull my information, can display it to me in one way, and then me choose and tell this agent, okay, like you said, go book Kareem and I at the bar. Book us a taxi to get us home. Make sure that the doors are open 5 minutes before the taxi gets there. Tell that app to open up those automatic doors so we don't have to try to drunkenly fumble with keys if we've had too much to drink. When I get to the door, have it turn the light on for me. Know my location, know my proximity to the door. Turn that light on for me. Maybe turn on some music. Maybe, if we're going all in, start some bath water. If somebody can get this to work, and Samsung may have the ability to pull it off, then I think you've got something here.
Right.
I think this goes well. I think people will use this product.
Yeah, the biggest barrier to entry is trusting Samsung inbox apps. I use a couple of them, but I also augment them with a bunch of other ones. Like, I use Outlook as opposed to Mail. I use OneNote instead of Notes. So if I'm willing to dive in, if this works like it's promised, then that could be something worth looking into. We're gonna move on to our next one, so we can wrap this podcast up and go out on a funish note. And that's the big news. That's the heavyweight of this week. That is Xbox. Phil Spencer stepping down. And Asha Sharma, I believe I'm saying that correct. I could be mispronouncing it, and I apologize. Stepping in, and Sarah Bond stepping out, and Matt Booty stepping to the side. Everyone's doing a bunch of stepping and shuffling. This is a musical chair situation, but like we mentioned on Friday, briefly on Friday, and we get into more of. Microsoft had a big shuffle in its Xbox division, and at the time, people. On Friday were very pessimistic about it because, again, when you want to dump bad news, especially particularly in stocks or political, apparently, you do it on a Friday when people are going into the weekend and not paying attention. And so people wrote up the story this way. The narrative exploded and ran very quickly that, hey, the reason why Microsoft's doing this is because they're trying to bury that they're about to kill off the Xbox. Those were a lot of big headlines. I had my own knee-jerk reaction, especially when I saw that Sarah Bond was being looked over for this new person. My initial reaction was that this new person is about to take a hit that Sarah Bond wasn't willing to take. She was being built up as Phil Spencer's predecessor for over a year and a half now, since they bought Activision Blizzard. So it seemed odd that she wouldn't be the person. And I made the leap to conclusion that they must be asking her to do something that she wasn't willing to. And then Asha had come out talking about AI slop and a bunch of AI stuff. And depending on which you're positioning AI, you could have seen her as the harbinger of something bad happening to Xbox, which would surround itself mostly around AI and less around gaming. But everyone got a chance to chill over the weekend, ice their thoughts, and then also find out from interviews over the past next 5 days, because she was out doing kind of like a speaking round. But what Asha believes in, where she's coming from, what the plans could be for Microsoft in the future, what she's centered around, and it looks like so far that she might be a good steward of the Xbox brand, something that was sort of in shambles. And I say that relatively speaking. Obviously, it was not like it was during the Xbox One situation, and I wrote about this, that what she's coming into is a lot different than what Phil Spencer's leaving her, or what he walked into with the Xbox One. So Go read my write-up for that comparative analysis. But the TLDR is that Xbox was in a really bad spot when Phil took over. There were negative stories about it constantly. They were a lack of exclusives. And Sony had just been kind of laughing them because of a bunch of marketing missteps. The console itself was designed poorly around the future. Again, they wanted to go with the Kinect. They wanted to do this DRM situation for offline gameplay. They wanted to create its own store. They wanted to lean more into television and multimedia, partnering with the NFL, with that football and the Xbox. And sometimes those Venn diagrams aren't as big as they think they are. So the gaming community was revolting. Phil Spencer came in and said, hey, we're going to rethink all of this. We're going to bring backward compatibility. We're going to just focus on games. We're going to try and, ease our relationship and shore our relationship with the developers in Japan. We're going to just try and listen to you guys and deliver on gaming. And over the last, 8 or 9 years, he's been doing a pretty decent job. It wasn't until roughly around the Activision Blizzard acquisition that the Xbox brand started to stumble again. And we find out through interviews that he and Sarah Bond, who was his predecessor, were obviously championing the play anywhere, everywhere strategy. And this is kind of where she was supposed to take over. It looks like that is not playing out not nearly as well as they thought it would. And I think part of the reason why she was overlooked, and again, this is all speculation based on some of the reporting from people like Jess Gordon and Zach Bowden and Tom Ward, was that one of her biggest fumbles after the acquisition, because she was spearheading that, and that's kind of what she does, was the Xbox mobile store. It was the big selling point on the reason why they bought Activision Blizzard and King. King was the lesser known property, but probably the biggest play was to create their own store, kind of like Epic has. And they kept talking about it. And obviously, as a gamer, you realize that never came to be.
Mm-hmm.
It was nowhere to be found, and that was one of the biggest fumbles. And it may have cost her the position. And I think what whoever the upper people were in this decision making have said, hey, you know what, we're going to let you do acquisitions. You're still within the company. Sarah Bond's still there. She was not necessarily passed over for that in particular. Phil Spencer, we found out, apparently retired last year, which is why we, as reporters, journalists, gamers, fans, didn't see a lot of him out and about. He lost a lot of weight and said, you know what, I'm done with Xbox, particularly. So he retired, and they were over the last year trying to figure out a way to introduce Asha, who is coming from AI and platforming, which is kind of what she's known for. And her role, apparently going forward, will be to bridge the gap in gaming and make this a better platform branding, platform features. We'll see, she's said she's committed to not doing AI sloppery in gaming. So we ideally won't have a bunch of, AI crap put into gaming. Maybe she'll be a steward of making sure developers who produce games and publish them use less AI as well, because if that's her big pitch so far. But she's here to make a unified gaming experience. My partner and I talked offline about where she's going to stand when it comes to hardware, but I'll let him get into that. Let him jump in now, because I've been rambling.
Well, I think what we were both talking about offline has merit, and I think we both agree. We just maybe see it from different directions, and I think there's a lot of different directions that this can be approached from. I think hardware in its current form has to lose out. I think we're done with the standalone console. We may see one more version of that. I'm not sure we're going to get that one more version. I keep seeing hints, and I think our handhelds were our first hints of a PC console combo. As you brought up, because I think you had a good idea, and I think I've seen it hinted on other outlets as well, that the next Xbox will essentially be a wrapped PC with a dashboard for the Xbox capable of playing Xbox games, but it will also be capable of playing PC games. Now, it could be locked down to just Xbox to keep the operating system and everything in line to keep people from crashing their devices, to keep people from trying to load third party. Microsoft could say, well, we're going to test everything that's in the Xbox store, everything that's in Game Pass when it comes in. We're going to test it. And this is your device. You can play Xbox. You can stay in the Xbox ecosystem. Guess what? That gets you to buy that Game Pass. That gets you to buy PC Game Pass. They could even farm this out to other OEMs. Lenovo could make one. Asus could make one. MSI could make one. But I think with our new leadership, as you said, she's got a tough couple years. She's got to convince gamers to stay to see that. She's got to convince us that these Game Pass price increases in these tough economic times, it's worth us keeping the subscription to see what's next. And that's kind of a buzzword that I could see Phil Spencer using. See what's next. She's got to convince us to do that. And that may be a very tough job for her to do. Because I think people are going to go back to buying their own games and maybe not worry about subscriptions at all.
I think you're right. I think what she's tasked with, and we'll see if she's, again, this is all speculation. She's only talked about a few things so far. But Microsoft, I think, wants the Xbox to behave more like a modern servicing platform, which means that she's going to need to champion and figure out a way to market these things to make them enticing. Discovery, recommendations, community, and cross-device continuity until the next Xbox come out. These are going to be the selling points, I think, that she needs to market somehow and make intelligible for its fans, saying that instead of having the Xbox home screen be the static thing that you have to manually put in, it will be a living board that will bring in recommendations, that will use AI or algorithms to figure out what you like playing, the amount of times you like playing, your play style, and then start, putting in this kind of content in front of you, saying, "Hey, here are recaps. Here's communities online and other platforms that you can go to extend your gameplay. Here are YouTube videos and tutorials and perhaps this level that you've been stuck on for the last 6 days, like me on Hades. Here are ways to work yourself out of that. And here are other games that are very similar, like Hades 2 and some other games that are top downs that you might want to play that are on Xbox streaming service. And this is what you're going to be paying for. And this is going to be her job for the next 2 or 3 years until they can figure out the hardware situation to say, here's the console that you finally want to invest in because you've been using all of these other services that make sense, that aren't just like one-off features that never stick, but these are a cohesive set of things that say, hey, because I am an Xbox fan, Xbox gamer, Xbox subscriber, I use all of these things and they all make sense in the stack. Just like, for people who are, Office 365 users, most of us will use a combination of Excel, Word, PowerPoint. Those three make sense. Planner didn't make as much sense and needed a publisher, but that's why they got rid of them. But those are the three that made sense when you bought this and you knew that's what you were getting. That's what she's going to kind of have to do for Xbox. Say, hey, these are the 3-4 main services that you're using constantly every day when you use this service. And she's going to do it for the next couple of years, I think. And I don't think Sarah Bond was, I think she was more of like, I can talk to the partners, I can talk to the legal department, like the FTC, and I am very good at massaging the ideas of, hey, this is the given pool of our relationship. I give you this, you guys give us that. And we'll make a deal. And I think she's going to be still doing that. So hopefully her role is working with studios to say, hey, we're going to put this on your platform. And the percentage is going to be 70-30, 80-20. You make 80, we take a little 20, and everybody wins. And then we'll hand the game off hand off the service to Asha, who will then market and make it make sense. That's how I see this. I could be entirely wrong. We'll see in the next 6 months or so how they kind of maneuver these troubled waters, so to speak. But this could be the first time in the past 3 years where we hopefully will have a clear vision of what the Xbox brand is, what it can do, and what it can do without hardware. because that's always been its crutch. Like, oh, the next console will be better. The next thing will make you want us to do. Now it's not even the next thing. It's what can you do today?
She got teased over the weekend about, not even being a gamer at all, and she shared her Xbox account to show some of the things she had played, and there were some articles done over that. And I think gamers, and myself included, we need to see her speak at an event when she's in that atmosphere. If she is up there as a dry, I'm going to call it what it is, a Sasha Nadella type delivery. This is not
quantum computing.
This is not going to work. I think gamers are looking for that energy, and that, they need to, a gamer needs to see their presenter interested. And that's one thing that Phil Spencer could do. And that's the, I can't think of his name. Help me here. Who was in charge of Surface that went to Amazon? What was his? Tell me.
Panos Panay.
Yeah, Panos. Thank you. Panos, he had that energy with the Surface presentations. It brought you in. But now if she is up there, this year we are releasing Call of Duty Black Ops 8, and it's got these new graphics. Now we'll throw it to the video. It's not going to work. We need some energy. The brand needs some energy. Gamers need some energy. So it's going to be exciting. It's different. I think different could be good. I'm going to give her a chance. I'm going to give her a chance to stumble, because I think in the end she'll come out a winner.
I think, yeah. And ideally, if she comes out a winner, we're all winners. That's the point.
Yeah.
Last bit of stuff we're talking about is free play days. We're still talking about gaming, but let's get you guys out and about. What are people playing this weekend?
Let's knock out a few free play days. We got 6 games this week, but we don't really have the blockbuster lineup that we've been having, but we've got some good ones in here nonetheless. We've got some that are free for everyone. We've got a marathon server slam. I almost said summer slam. Look at me, WWE style. Marathon server slam. That is Bungie's extraction shooter. That comes out next week. So they're having a server slam all the way until March the 2nd. They want you to go in there. Guess what they want you to do? They want you to play. They want you to slam the servers. Give them feedback. So that is on free play days this weekend. There's nothing to buy yet for that, because, again, it's just a server slam. You've got the Sinking City Remastered. That is a horror where you rebuild your horror city with the Unreal Engine 5. For those that have Game Pass, you've got Moving Out 2. That is a moving out simulator. You've got Stuffed. This is an FPS with a teddy bear. Fighting Nightmares. I'm just guessing children may not want to play this one. You've got Anno 117 Pax Romana. That is a Roman era city builder with the Roman style decorations. Let's see. And the one that caught my attention was the Atari 50, the anniversary collection, where you kind of get to walk through the history of Atari. There's part of the game, walk through the Atari museum, and a lot of those games will be playable according to the description. As I always like to remind folks, get your deals during free play days. I pick up some of these. I pick up at least one a month usually. For example, we've got Anno 117 Pax Romania 25% off, $44.99. We've got Stuffed $12.49. We've got the Atari Remastered 50th edition, 50th anniversary package, $39.99. Now I got to give you the bad part. Microsoft for another week has not fixed how you access these on your Xbox. So go to Xbox.com. That's actually the easy way. If you're on your Xbox, go to your membership. Go down to Game Pass. Go down to your version of Game Pass. Game Pass Ultimate, Game Pass Premium, Game Pass Standard. Under there, you will find free play days. Free play days still is not on the dashboard, easy to find every week. So, what are you playing this weekend? I'm going to try the Atari, and I'm going to go try that stuff. I want to see what it's like to do an FPS with a damn teddy bear. That's what I want to see. I want to see that. I'm looking forward to that. What are you doing this weekend, my friend? We've got a good weekend of weather here, but I'm a big college basketball fan. We've got some college basketball games this weekend in the neighborhood that are hot, so I will be probably on the handheld, sitting on the couch trying these titles.
If I had to choose one, it's probably moving out. Me and my girls have loved playing that game. It's a pretty fun little, I guess, simulator, so to speak, / cartoonish kind of thing. It's a fun game to play. So we'll definitely be trying out the second one. Other than that, like I said, I'm still playing Hades poorly, so I'll be doing that as well. Where can people find you if they want to hang out with you this weekend?
Please do. David PJ 1978 over on the Blue Skies, please. I do hang out on X for a little NASCAR. That's kind of where NASCAR lives. They've not moved over to Blue Sky. But for gaming, David PJ 1978. Threads is the same, David PJ 1978. You can always drop me a message. I usually get into my games, usually in the evening, usually between 8 and 10 or 8 and 11 or 9 and 11, or on the weekends, maybe 9 to midnight, depending on how I'm feeling, how the game's going. If I'm doing good, if I'm having a good time, my stream's going good, then I usually keep playing.
You can find me at Happy Hulk at Blue Sky, on Blue Sky. You can also find me at Kareem Anderson on Threads. Usually doing stuff about comics or movies or politics if you're interested in that as well. Not as much about gaming because I like to game by myself because I am really bad at it. So
they don't want anybody to see how bad he is.
No, not at all. If you guys could see how bad I was in Rainbow Six, you'd all be like, you know what? Keep this guy away from all the rest of us.
Speaking of bad, I really got, I'm going to throw, people like these personal moments. I really got picked on last weekend. It was last Friday night after the podcast. I decided I would go play Black Ops 7. I've got an ultra wide screen here, so I set my stream up and, I'm in there doing what I think is pretty well. I'm throwing, the bombs in the corners. I'm blowing people up. I'm hitting shots. I'm hitting my headshots. And I had said hello to some folks that had come in and spoke, because you do that when you're streaming. That's part of the, it's part of it. You're communicating. And for the next 2 or 3 kills, I just got completely obliterated. And this guy comes over the phone. He says, "There's a nice guy in here that's getting obliterated." And, I didn't say anything, because I didn't know. I knew he was talking to me. And he's like, "This guy can't hit a damn thing."
Ouch. Well, at least you're a nice guy.
So he said, "Nice guy, do you mind speaking?" And I spoke. He says, "Can we ask how old you are?" He says, "I'm guessing close to 50 due to your aiming."
Ouch.
I said, "Yeah." I said, "Beer must have kicked in the second part of the game, because the first part of the game I was doing pretty good. The second part of the game I didn't do worth a darn."
And this is, again, why I play alone. Nobody needs to see how bad I am. Maybe one day I'll come out of the closet area and play some games with everybody, and they can see like, oh, he needs to go back. But until then, we want you guys to have a great weekend. Enjoy what you're doing. If it's gaming, if it's making fun of nice gamers, please do that nicely. Always be respectful. And we will see you guys again next week. So thank you for hanging out with us, and go check out the site for more news.
Have fun.